Hey everybody, what's up? Mike here. Today we're getting to our special Q&A video. I thought this would be a good way of connecting with you in the community that we've been building here on the channel, and for you to ask me your questions and I will answer them. So I got a lot of questions, mostly on YouTube. One question from a viewer on Instagram, which is going to be at the end. But I've basically, these questions kind of fell into three different categories. The biggest amount of questions are about like my musical background and relate to like slide guitar and lap steel and what I do and stuff. So that's going to take up the majority of the questions. Then there was some questions about my personal life, what to know about me more personally. And then the last category is like, questions about like what bands do I like and what do I think about this artist, and just general random questions that don't kind of fit into any of the other two categories. So I think we should start with the most like asked questions, which is about my musical background and slide guitar. As you can see, I've got a Word document up here. I copy and pasted all your questions, organized and put them into a document so I can read them. And you can see them all as I scroll down here in the display capture. By the way, sorry about Wednesday's reaction video. I forgot to turn my display capture on for the Dream Theater reaction, so I apologize for that. But some of you still enjoyed it, so that's good. So, anyways, before we get started with these questions, please, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button below, as always. Ring the bell so you can get notified. Choo-choo, as I always say. Give the video a like, a thumbs up, please, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you've got more questions for a future Q&A video, ask them. That's always cool. But yeah, let's get started with these questions, and I can give you my answers. So the first question is from Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is one of my, my regulars, and she asks me, I'd like to know about your musical education. Okay, so I grew up in a fairly musical family. My mom was the choir mistress for the choir at church. My dad sang and played guitar in the choir. And I generally came from a pretty musical family. One of my uncles is quite an accomplished guitar player. So generally, I kind of grew up around a musical family. I came from a fairly religious household. So most of the music I grew up around was not secular music. It was religious in nature. I'm from a Roman Catholic background. I'm an atheist now, but that's, I guess, the culture that I grew up in. So most of the music I grew up listening to was it was either religious music, or it was European classical music, or it was as I grew up as a kid, about the only thing I was allowed to listen to was Christian rock. So I actually didn't hear secular music for the first time until maybe I was 12 or 13. When I think about it, my dad, he basically got rid of my dad was a born again Christian, so he basically got rid of almost all of his secular music. But the two cassette tapes that he kept, I'm dating myself here, but the two cassette tapes that he kept that I remember listening to on car rides and stuff was The Grand Illusion by Styx, which is a great album, and Songs from the Wood by Jethro Tull, which is another great album. But the first time I actually bought secular music for myself was when I was actually 16. I was a real late bloomer, and I begged my dad to let me buy a Best of Pink Floyd CD, which I still have. And he eventually relented, and that's what got me started into getting into prog rock and rock music in my mid to late teens. But my actual musical education started when I was 6. My mom got me started on classical piano. So piano is actually my first instrument. Slide guitar is actually my second instrument. And I went through the Royal Conservatory of music, which is, I guess, the one of the big classical music education programs here in Canada. Um, and I got up to my grade 8 piano, and I also have my grade 1 and 2 rudiments in music theory. I studied composers like Bach, Mozart, Beethoven. I played Chopin. I love Chopin. Um, Edvard Grieg. I love Grieg. And there was some jazz as well. I remember that we did some Duke Ellington as well, because at that point the RCM was starting to allow jazz into the program in the contemporary music section for the examinations. But yeah, my first um, instrument was piano, and I guess my background is from classical music, European classical music, way before I got into blues um, or rock music. So I did classical piano for over 20 years. Um, and the first band that I actually played in was I played keyboards in like basically in a prog rock or a prog metal band. Um, and I only took up slide guitar when I was 19. And I guess this dovetails nicely into our next questions. Quite a few of you asked me what led me into playing slide guitar. Carrie Smith asks, "What led you into playing slide guitar so awesomely?" Thank you for the compliment, Carrie. I appreciate that. David Christian asks me, "What inspired you to pick up lap steel? It's very much a niche instrument." Yes, it is. And then if we scroll down here a bit, um, shithead. That's literally that's literally the user's screen name. Is they say, "I'm sure you will cover it in depth, but I am most interested in why you chose slide guitar." Troy Donockley of Nightwish plays the ukulele and pipes, which was his first instrument passion. The instrument spoke to him in a medieval way. Was there something about the slide guitar's sound that appealed to you in a certain way? Um, and then my friend, the history buff, who's got a great channel which you should all check out, um, he asked me, I hope you don't mind, but I know you mentioned having a degree of cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy is my physical disability that I was born with. I've had it since birth. I was not always able to walk. I actually got surgery at 4.5, 5 years old, which allowed me to walk. So for the first 4 years of my life, I actually scooched along on my belly. I couldn't even crawl. So it's wonderful that I can walk, uh, for myself at least. Some people are perfectly fine. Some disabled people are perfectly fine being in wheelchairs, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with being in a chair. There's nothing wrong or bad about it. We gotta get rid of that stigma for people who are in chairs. Anyways, History Buff says, "So I hope you don't mind, but I know you mentioned having a degree of cerebral palsy. Do you play slide guitar because you don't have to hold it upright? Or is there another reason you were drawn to it over a conventional guitar?" So all these questions kind of get to the question of like, what led me to slide guitar? What led me to lap steel? Was my disability involved in my decision to pick it up? Absolutely, 100%. Um, so, I when I entered my teenage years, um, I around 13 or 14 or 15, I can't exactly remember when I was drawn to guitar. Um, and I really wanted to play it. Because piano, like as much as I love piano and keyboards, and I love playing it, and I love playing rock keyboards and Hammond organ and stuff like that. I love all that stuff. But I mean, piano was kind of the instrument that my mom got me started on. It's what she wanted me to do, and guitar just spoke to me. There was just something about it that's like, yeah, this is what I really want to play, but I couldn't play it in the traditional manner because of my cerebral palsy. So to answer History Buff's question, yeah, it was because of my CP. Basically, my type of cerebral palsy, there's different subtypes. Some affect only one side of your body, right or left. Some are like only your upper half, or some is throughout. My whole cerebral palsy is throughout. My subtype is called spastic diplegia. Basically, in a nutshell, what that means is that all the muscles all over my body, my whole body, are really spastic and really tight. This includes my hands. Okay, so when I tried to pick up the guitar and play it in the regular way, and form it in the regular way and form chords like this, even though I could play like this on the piano, there was just something about doing this, and I can even feel it now doing it. It's like it's the muscles that are right here. It hurts way too much in the back of my hand. I tried every which way to do it, and I just couldn't. It was way too painful. So I couldn't play guitar in the regular way. So what I started to do originally is I put the guitar on my lap, and my dad told me about open tunings, and this idea that you can turn a guitar to an open chord. So this actually dovetails into another related question. Let me just see if I can find it. Not that one. Where is it? There it is. From Ronnie Safinga. What is your favorite tuning when you play slide guitar? So this is actually relevant. So when I sat that guitar down on my lap, I tuned it to open E major. And that's still the tuning that I am in today. I tried open G, for a little bit, but I just couldn't get the hang of it. For some reason, open E or even open D, which is a whole step lower, always spoke to me. So I like that tuning. So I'm actually still in the same tuning that I first used when I was 16. So I tuned the guitar to an open tuning. And what I would do, is I would basically bar all the chords with just my thumb. I was kind of using my thumb as a slide, even though I didn't know what a slide was yet. And that's how I started to play. Now, of course, this was pretty limiting. So I started taking guitar lessons with a local teacher. And, for the first few lessons we were doing it this way, I was trying to play tunes like this, but it was just, you couldn't play scales with just your thumb. Or at least it just wasn't working out for me. And he said to me, "Do you know what slide is?" I'm like, "No." "Do you know what lap steel is?" And I'm like, "No. What's lap steel? I don't know. I don't know what lap steel is." So he put a guitar in he basically put a slide in my hand. He's like, "Here, try sliding the slide across the strings." And I did. And all of a sudden, my world started to open up. And so I suddenly the possibilities began to open up, and I started to try to get that kind of musical singing vibrato that you get with slide to make the guitar kind of sing. One of my earliest influences, and I think I mentioned this before in a previous video, was Robert Randolph, who plays pedal steel. And actually, Hisk asked me, they asked me, "Do you also play pedal steel?" And the answer to that is unfortunately no, I don't. But I was certainly influenced by Robert Randolph, who does play pedal steel. And he comes out of the sacred steel gospel tradition, out of like the black Church of God Pentecostal churches in the United States. So he was one of my I think possibly my earliest influence on steel guitar, because I heard him playing with all of his overdrive, And he just had this very, like, some steel guitar players, right, they have, I'll show you guys. I'll just bring the guitar down. Or the camera down, rather. I don't know where my head's at today. Let's just check and make sure. Yeah, hold on, where is it? Okay, cool. So, there's a little peek behind the curtain there for you. But, okay, so if I do this, right, and I bring my guitar here, and hopefully you guys can hear this. Actually, you know what? Let me grab my acoustic. That's probably going to be better. Okay, I grabbed my acoustic. So, I'll just show you guys sort of what I'm talking about. When I started to play, right, hopefully you guys can hear that. I'm just going to use one slide for now, right? So I started to learn to play and learn basic intonation, and, I can only really play songs in E, right? And if it was blues, I might have done something like... But this was pretty limiting because, I could only get major chords, and I didn't really have a degree of facility to kind of get scales and kind of do all the crazy, like, shredding that I wanted to do. So I got pretty frustrated after the first year or so. I had all these sorts of sounds in my head that I wanted to get out. And one day, at the place that I was taking piano lessons at, just bringing this a bit closer here. One day at the place that I was taking piano lessons at, there was this kid who always used to go on, I think, after me. And his dad and, no, before me, sorry. His dad and I used to talk during his lesson. And one day his dad said to me, there's this guy who plays with 2 slides. And I'm like, 2 slides? 2 slides? Like, what? Like, I couldn't even conceptualize it in my head. And so he's like, yeah, he plays over at this bar downtown called Grossman's. He does a jam up there on Sunday nights. And so he's like, you should go check him out. And, he actually came back in the next week. He made me a little second slide. I've actually still got it here. You guys can see this. This only covers 1 string, but it's actually made from the barrel of a shotgun shell, believe it or not. And originally, I didn't know that you put it on your thumb, but originally, I thought the slide, went on the other hand, and then you could do, like, tapping like Eddie Van Halen. Something like that, right? So I didn't know how it worked. So I begged my dad to take me down to Grossman's, the bar that I mentioned, on a Sunday night. I was 19 at the time. I'd never been to a bar in my life. I was completely green. I was terrified. And all of a sudden, I saw this guy play with 2 slides on one hand. He had a big one that actually looked just like this. And he had a smaller one on his thumb. And all of a sudden, I saw him playing, like, all these chords. You could get minors, you could get 7ths, you could get major 7ths if you wanted, right? Anything. And it blew my mind. And all of a sudden, everything just opened up for me. And I realized, holy shit, this is the way that I can learn to play. Like, this is how I can get my chords and my scales. And it's just like the world opened up to me all of a sudden. And so I went up to him after he was done his set with the house band, and his name was Brian Kober. He was my mentor. Brian was an absolute. He was a legend. He was an absolute living legend in the Canadian blues scene. He was a local guitar player here in Toronto. He toured all over the world: Canada, the United States, Europe, Israel, Lithuania. He'd been all over. And he was the only guy playing with two slides. And so, I used to come to the jam every Sunday night to jam with him. And, he would give me crap on stage, and he really busted my chops because my palm muting used to be crap. So I used to play really loud all the time. My dynamics were terrible, and he would instill dynamics in me, and he would give me a hard time, but he would really show me the ropes. And I swear, I learned more on that stage every Sunday night at Grossman's than I did from 20 years of classical piano lessons. That was a real education, more so than any formal education. And so I stuck with my original guitar teacher for about 5 or 6 years, but then finally I plucked up the courage to ask Brian to teach me how to play double slide guitar. And Brian only gave me 3 formal lessons, but the rest of it he would just kind of show me when we were jamming. He would all of a sudden we would be in the middle of the tune, and he would turn to me and he'd be like, "It's this chord here," if I couldn't get the chord. And he was of course the only person that I could understand what his chord shapes looked like, because as it turned out, he was also an open E like me. So that's why I never switched tunings as well. So he'd show me the chord real quick, and I just have to catch it like that. You have to watch him like a hawk. And he mentored me for a good 10, 12 solid years. We became really close. I'm crying a bit here. I really miss him. He passed away from cancer in 2016, and he was like my dad, and I miss him every day. I really miss him a lot. He was a really special man, and he invented double slide guitar all the way back in 1971. It's 2021 now, so actually this year is the 50th year anniversary of double slide guitar as a Canadian invention. That's pretty huge. So I'm very fortunate to have learned from Brian and learned this whole system that he came up with, because I've tried to explain this to local musicians in my city. It's when I try to explain double slide to them, it's nobody had done this. Nobody had thought to put a second slide on your thumb and get all sorts of different chords. And now the great advantage to it, right, is that I don't have to retune, right? I can play in any key that I want. I can play in A minor. I can play in A flat minor, right? I can play in B flat major if I wanted to. I can play in A. I didn't have to just play songs in E anymore. I can play any chord I want. I can play any scale that I want to, any mode. The two slides, because of my palsy, this is really the only way that I can play guitar. So it's not that it's not to, I guess, to get back to the original question of what drew me to slide guitar. It wasn't just the sound of it, which was very unique, and just the fact that double slide was really fucking cool. It was also the fact that it's necessity for me. I don't know how to play guitar any other way, so I play this way because I got to. So I hope that answers everybody's those questions. I would encourage everybody, if you get a chance, to look up Brian Kober on YouTube and check out some videos of him. He was a monster player. He was a genius, and he basically invented a whole new instrument and a whole new system and way of playing lap steel that really revolutionized it. I wish he'd gotten more of his due in life, and that's kind of why I'm talking so much about him, is to let you guys know about him and how special and amazing he was as a person and as a musician. So you should definitely YouTube Brian and check him out. But yeah, that basically answers that question. Ronnie Safinga also asked me, have I ever played a Duesenberg lap steel? No, have not. Duesenberg lap steels also have capos on them. I have no real use for capos because, of course, with the double slide, I can play in any key that I want, so I really don't need to put a capo on it. These guys let me do basically whatever key I want to play in. Occasionally, I do tune down to open D in case I want that low D chord to get for like a muddier, heavier tuning. But it's essentially it's the same tuning as open E. You've got your three inversions of your major chord, all in the same tuning. So it's very useful in that respect. So that's I think all like the questions about my background and how I got into doing this, and why I play the way I play. Now we're gonna get into some personal questions. Okay, so now we're gonna get down to the personal questions. I did say ask me anything. So Elizabeth, again, hey Elizabeth, she asked me, how old am I? I'm 35 years old. Am I in a relationship? Yes, I am. Am I vaccinated against COVID? You bet. I am actually in the highest risk category for COVID. My cerebral palsy and also I'm asthmatic. My asthma puts me at great risk for it. So you bet I am double vaccinated against COVID. And I encourage everybody to go get their shots. I mean, if you can't get the vaccine for medical reasons, that's understandable, and I completely understand that. But again, for the rest of us who can get our shots, please, if you haven't already, go get vaccinated. We need everybody to get vaccinated so we can beat this virus and get back to some sort of sanity, I think, because this pandemic has been crazy, let me tell you. Have I ever been to Europe? No, but I'd really like to go. I would actually love to go to Europe. I would love to go to Europe. I'd love to actually really go to England. And what I really love to do in England is the Tolkien Society, because I'm a big fan of J.R.R. Tolkien. He's my favorite author. They did hold, maybe they don't, I don't know if they still hold it during the pandemic, but there's a Tolkien, I guess, meetup or convention every year held by the Tolkien Society called Oxenmoot. And I'd love to go to that. I'd also love to go to Germany, because I studied German for a bit in university. I also studied Latin and classics and biblical studies in university as well, so I'd love to go to Rome, check out all the Latin inscriptions around there. So yeah, I'd love to go to Europe. Maybe one day. Unfortunately, I have a mountain of food allergies. Like, my food allergy list is I have over 100 food allergies, so that makes traveling a little bit difficult. I think I've only been outside Canada once in my life to go to a wedding in New York City when I was really little. But beyond that, I haven't traveled much outside the province of Ontario where I'm based. So one day, maybe if my career kicks off, I'll be able to tour the world and go to places and go to Oxenmoot and stuff. That'd be fun. Cool. Next question. Royal Sexy. Love that name. Royal Sexy asked me, tell us about boys. Yes, please. Do you have a boyfriend? If he is he as cute as you? Oh, thanks, mate. That's awfully sweet of you. I don't have a boyfriend, but I did say I was in a relationship. And so, here's the big reveal. I'm actually in a relationship with a woman, and yes, I am still gay. When I met her, and we met in high school, I didn't know I was gay, And, you know, we were we were monogamous for a fairly long time until we moved in with each other, and we eventually I basically said to her, I can't do the monogamy for the rest of my life. I need a hall pass to try things with boys. And she wasn't happy at first with me, but eventually it's kind of started off as a don't ask, don't tell kind of thing, but that never works. So eventually she saw how miserable I was, and she asked me, "Are you polyamorous? Do you need an open relationship?" And basically what polyamory is, for those of you who don't know, is it's ethical non-monogamy. So essentially, you're in relationships with multiple people, and everybody knows about everybody else. Everybody's cool with everybody else. Everybody's on board with everybody else, and you know, it's basically an ethical way for those of us who can't do monogamy. So in addition to being gay and queer, and because I'm with my partner, well, because I'm with her, I am on the bisexual spectrum. Um, I think she's the only woman I could actually be with. I can't see myself being with another girl, but that still makes me bi. You know, occasionally I find girls attractive, but not really. But when I do find them attractive, I fall for them hard, and I fell for my partner pretty hard. But yeah, eventually, she said she asked me if I was polyamorous, and I said yeah, and so she said, you know what, you don't have to do like random like hookups with strangers for the rest of your life and sneak around. She didn't want that for me. She said, we'll find you a boyfriend together. And the moment when she said that, I knew she had my back. And ever since we opened up our relationship, and she's monogamous herself, but ever since, you know, we went for an open relationship, and she totally has the option to have other partners herself. She just doesn't want to. But, you know, ever since we opened up the relationship for me, and the openness and the amount of, you know, communication that we do that's required when you do a polyamorous relationship, because like when you have multiple partners, you really can't assume, like you can't make assumptions about anything. You need to be like having constant talks about expectations, boundaries. You know, the relationship that you have with one partner might not be the same as the relationship that you have with another. You'll probably have different sets of rules and stuff, and that's certainly how we do it. The rules that I agree upon with my partner, with her, are the rules that I have with her. The rules that I would have with a boyfriend if I did have a boyfriend, and I wish I did. So hey guys, I'm available. But just saying, if I did, I would probably, you know, it would be the rules that he and I would agree to. Have had boyfriends in the past, and my partner has met all of them. I'm good friends with all of my exes, thankfully. They're all family to me. And I love all of them. We're still really good friends to this day. But yeah, I don't have a boyfriend right now. Hope to get one in the future. Unfortunately, for the last several years, my mental health has gotten in the way. I've got some pretty extreme trauma that I've had to deal with, and that's really what's kind of prevented me from finding a boyfriend, I think, and finding a second partner. But I've been healing a lot from that, so maybe, hopefully, now I'm ready to. So, boys, I am available if you're curious. And next question from Marit K. And he asks, can I ask where you play, and is it your job? So that's a music-related question. Yeah, I play mostly, well, before COVID, I played in mostly some bars here in Toronto with my band. I also played some venues outside the city. in Ontario, and I did do, and I have played some of the festival circuit in Ontario. Hopefully, once the pandemic kind of wraps up, I'll be able to get into that more. Is it my job? Yep, absolutely. I can't do anything else but music. I tried doing desk jobs. I tried doing the 9 to 5. Mentally, I couldn't handle it. Physically, I couldn't handle it. I can't work in construction, obviously, because I'm disabled and with all my food allergies. I can't really work in food services, so music is it. Before COVID, I was actually a busker. I was actually a subway musician. They actually have a subway musician program here in Toronto, which I am a part of. So I actually used to busk in the subways every day for money, and that was my job. And it's not the most glamorous job. It certainly doesn't pay well as, something that pays $100,000 a year. But honestly, um, honestly, I'd rather be poor, because I am poor. I'd rather be poor and doing something that I love than make a whole bunch of money and be miserable for the rest of my life. So I love my job, and as tough as being a professional musician can be sometimes, and let me tell you, it is not all glamorous. There is a whole bunch of grindy, there's the grind, and there's the endless self-promotion and social media, and it's exhausting sometimes. That's why you gotta take care of yourself. Mart said, I gotta take care of myself at the beginning of his comment. Absolutely, I do. And I am doing that. But yeah, it's exhausting sometimes being a professional musician, but I wouldn't have it any other way. Mart also asked me, have I always been gay openly? Nope. I was closeted for much of my life. I did not come out until 2015. So, about 6 years ago. And it was because of my partner. She was the one who really helped me to come out to my friends and family and publicly as an artist as well. And she's just been such an amazing, incredible partner to me. And so supportive. I couldn't have done it without her. And, she was basically the one who helped me to come out and say, I'm gay and I'm polyamorous, and yes, I'm still with my partner, but hey, I also had a boyfriend at the time. I've been out for about 6 years now. Mard asked me, is it easy being openly gay? Yes or no? No, it's not. it's definitely a struggle. It's definitely a struggle. Homophobia, biphobia, queerphobia, these are things that are not easy to deal with. And I deal with those a lot, and I've certainly dealt with a lot of discrimination as an openly gay musician, especially in the blues scene. The blues scene is very conservative socially a lot of the times. There's not a lot of openly gay male blues artists. I think there's 7 of us, myself included. I can count us all on 2 hands. There's not a lot of us who are out because it is so conservative. But that said, I was in the closet until I was 30. I didn't start experimenting and discovering my sexuality with men until I was 27. So I was closeted for the most of my life because of my Christian upbringing, my Catholic upbringing, and I had a lot of guilt and shame over that, and eventually I couldn't take it anymore. So, yeah, homophobia sucks, biphobia sucks, queerphobia absolutely sucks, oppression really fucking sucks, and by the way, so does ableism against disabled people. I go through that almost every day. As a disabled person as well. So, oppression sucks. But, at the same time, being closeted is worse. Hiding who you are, it's like you live a double life, and it's soul destroying. It's absolutely soul crushing. So I'd rather be out and gay and open and proud and embrace and accept myself and love myself for who I really am than live a lie and live a life of suffering and misery. Because I did that for like 30 years of my life, folks. And I'll tell you something. By the end of it, I was suicidal. Like, my mental health it was not good. And you see this time and time again with queer and transgender people, where we're not, society is so shitty and condemning sometimes that it doesn't allow us to be out and be ourselves. And I really should say that you should come out when you're ready to. You shouldn't come out, if you feel pressured or forced. Don't do it, because that's not good either. You should come out when you're ready to be out and open. And I can say for myself, for all the crap and the shit and the bullshit and the oppression that I've gone to, I'd rather deal with people's homophobic bullshit than live a lie and not be myself and be miserable. Because people's homophobia and their intolerance is their intolerance, and that's about them and their inability to be okay and accept and be cool with who I am. That's their problem, not mine. As my therapist likes to say, not my monkeys, not my circus. So I'm so happy that I came out. I'm so happy that I have a partner who supported me and still supports me in being who I am and coming out and, dating men and being myself and expressing myself through my music. And I'm just so fortunate and lucky to have that, because not everybody has a partner like that, and I'm lucky that I got her. So I love her terribly. She is my best friend and my absolute soulmate, and I love her to pieces. Just had to say that. All right, on to random questions and things about bands and stuff that I like. Ascension Energetics asked me, would you consider a Nightwish cover? So I have a question from the Nightwish Army here. And of course, I would consider a Nightwish cover. And in fact, if we get this channel to 5,000 subscribers, I promised everybody that I would do an acoustic Nightwish cover. So if you all would like to see me do a Nightwish cover, tell everybody you know to fucking subscribe to this channel. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, the subscribe button is down below. Hit the subscribe channel. Get this channel to 5K subs, and I will fulfill the Nightwish Army's wishes and do a Nightwish cover for you all. You all know what you gotta do. All right, moving on. Ledgum108 asked me, are you Jeff Buckley's doppelganger? I actually know nothing about Jeff Buckley. Other than I know that he died really young. He was supposedly a really brilliant guitar player. He had one album out called Grace in the early 90s, and he played a Telecaster. But I've not heard a single note of his music, and I probably should. I probably should. So that's a mental note to myself to check out some Buckley when I'm done making this video. But am I Jeff Buckley's doppelganger? I'm not sure, unless I am the product of a mad scientist experiment. But actually, you know what? Just for shits and giggles, because we've got the display capture up, let's get Google up here. Let's get Google. Oh, where did Google go? There's Google. And let's just put Jeff Buckley into the search. Okay. And we'll go to images. Oh my God. Well, in addition to being very handsome, my God, he was gorgeous. I can certainly see the resemblance between himself and myself. So, oh, there's a nice shirtless picture of him there too. My goodness, he was absolutely gorgeous. Oh my goodness, I'm crushing hard. Okay, mind out of gutter, Mike. perhaps I am Buckley's, perhaps I am Jeff Buckley's doppelganger. But if I am, there's no way for me to tell. So I hope that answers your question, Ledgum. Okay, moving on. Andy P. Asked me, besides Tolkien, are there any other authors that you like? Yeah, I love science fiction and fantasy literature, speculative fiction. Aside from J.R.R. Tolkien, one of the best fantasy novels that I ever read, and you all should read it too if you like fantasy, is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. She is a wonderful, brilliant author. I think this is her only novel. And it's this epic, like, alternative history in England in the 1800s and the Victorian era of, like, what if England had magic and wizards? And it's amazing. You all should read it. I also love Robert Jordan and The Wheel of Time. I started that series when I was 16, and I followed it all the way through. Like, I think there's like 16 books in that series, and I read it from like start to finish throughout the years. I actually met Brandon Sanderson, who completed the series after Robert Jordan passed away. And he did the last 3 books and finished the series. So I actually got to meet Brandon Sanderson and ask him a couple of questions. So that was cool. Apparently Robert Jordan had a functioning like language for the Old Tongue, just much like Tolkien did for Elvish, which is pretty cool. Other authors I'd like, how could I forget? Terry Pratchett. I love Terry Pratchett. I actually met Terry Pratchett when I was 15. He came and he gave a talk here in Toronto, and he talked for 2 hours, told a whole bunch of jokes. He was absolutely hilarious. He was one of the nicest, sweetest people I've ever met. Wonderful man. He signed my couple of copies of The Color of Magic and Interesting Times. Actually, you know what? Let me grab them. 1 second. I gotta show these to you guys, because, I mean, they're kind of special. Okay, guys. I got my couple copies of Color of Magic and Interesting Times here. So, yeah, when I met Terry Pratchett and he was at this signing, and I think he only ever came to Toronto like 2 or 3 times. So I saw him when he came here on the second time in 2001. I was 15. And so during the sign, I went up to him. He asked me for my name. I kind of stammered it out because I was nervous meeting one of my heroes. And he asked me if there's anything special that I wanted in the inscription. And I said anything with a footnote, something funny. So apparently he didn't do this. He didn't do footnotes after he developed Alzheimer's. So this is actually pretty special. Here it is. I don't know if you guys can see this, but he wrote to me, to Michael, best wishes, and then the footnote on best is for a given value of best. And then I always thought that was hilarious. And then for Interesting Times, he said to me, to Michael, live interesting times. So I got cursed by Terry Pratchett. I think that's pretty awesome, if you ask me. These are amongst 2 of my these are pretty much, I think, my most prized possessions, except for maybe my mentor Brian's guitar, which I've got back there, which is also really special. Aside from Pratchett, I love Douglas Adams. I love The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I love like English humor, British humor. I love Frank Herbert. The Dune series is amazing and great, and I love all of that. And the other author that I really love, which I don't know if a lot of people know who he is, but if any of you guys have heard of Jonathan L. Howard, who does the Johannes Cabal series, you all should check that out. That's hilarious stuff. I really love comedic fantasy and also epic fantasy. Oh, and also because I like horror as well, I love Stephen King and I love the Dark Tower series as well. So, I mean, that's just a smattering of authors that I like. But yeah, I'm a giant nerd. I love my science fiction and my fantasy. Moving on, Dick Marco Stedehauer, I'm assuming that's a German name, asked me, what do you think about Black Sabbath? Okay, well, I've only heard the first two Black Sabbath records and a couple of the songs with Dio. But I can't state the importance of Black Sabbath to heavy metal because, of course, without Black Sabbath, we don't have heavy metal. And the reason we got the sound was actually due to Tony Iommi's disability. He was working in a factory, and he got his fingertips chopped off in an accident, and so he actually had to get prosthetics on his fingertips in order to play, but standard tuning was too tight, too high up, and it was too painful. So he actually down-tuned his guitar to a slack tuning, and it created this low, dark, evil sound. So if it wasn't for Tony Iommi being disabled, we would never have gotten heavy metal music as we know it, which is pretty cool if you ask me as a disabled guitar player. I think Black Sabbath is one of the most influential bands. Pretty much almost like all the evil sounding metal riffs is like it's based off of something Black Sabbath did. Pretty much. It's like either it's like Black Sabbath sped up or played backwards or inverted or something or other. Black Sabbath is really the beating heart of heavy metal, and I love heavy metal. So they're an incredibly important band, and I do gotta check out more of them. And the first two albums that I have heard, I absolutely love. They're a great band. I love Geezer Butler on bass. I love Bill Ward as a drummer, and I absolutely adore Tony Iommi as a guitar player. And Ozzy's just got a cool voice. And Ronnie James Dio ain't half bad as well. Dio's awesome. I love Dio era Black Sabbath as well. John English asked me, what are your thoughts on Chris Whitley? Well, John, I would say I have thoughts, but I don't, because I don't actually know who Chris Whitley is. So you know what? In addition to Jeff Buckley, when I'm done making this video, I'll go and check out some Chris Whitley for you. And then maybe I can answer your question at a later date. But hey, I'm nothing if not but honest. And finally, my fellow disabled musician, the Wheeled Headbanger, asked me on Instagram, and this is our final question, what was the one band or artist that lit the fire of music for you? That's a great question, Wheeled Headbanger. It's a tough question. There's so many, but I think, if I'm being honest, there's three of them. One was definitely my mentor, Brian, because as soon as I saw him play double slide, that changed everything for me, and that lit the impetus for me to play guitar, obviously. So definitely Brian Kober as my number one. But also, I think when I discovered secular rock music for the first time at 16, when I begged my dad to get me that Best of Pink Floyd CD, and I think the very first Pink Floyd song I heard was Astronomy Domine on that record. It was the Echoes compilation. It changed my life. Pink Floyd changed my life. And then shortly after I got into Pink Floyd, I discovered Deep Purple. The boyfriend of a cousin said I need to go listen to Lazy. So I went and I listened to Lazy, and that was the first Deep Purple tune. And because I was a keyboard player at the time, when I heard John Lord play the Hammond, and that Hammond was so distorted, changed my freaking life. From that point on, I was like, oh shit, no, I gotta learn how to play rock keyboards. Oh shit, I gotta get into rock and prog. So I think my mentor Brian, Pink Floyd, and Deep Purple all sort of had an equal influence, and they were all huge early influences. And probably also Robert Randolph as well. Those four, we'll say, really kind of lit the fire underneath me. And those are kind of like, those three artists plus my mentor are sort of like what lit the fire for me. I really didn't get into like blues until later on. Like I didn't discover B.B. King and Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and Eric Clapton and Albert King and Buddy Guy and Albert Collins until like my early to mid 20s. Like the seed for me was actually prog rock. It was British hard rock, British progressive rock, and I guess that and blues are my first loves for music, and I guess that they're still the things that drive me today, even in the music that I make today. I'm just actually, I should probably let this drop now. My new record is coming out in a couple of months, and even when I make blues music, it's prog blues, for lack of a better term. It's progressive blues. There isn't. I don't tend to stick in one genre. I like to mix up genres, and I like to explore, and I like to push boundaries. I'm very much, as a musician, in the original spirit of prog, where it's like, let's try something new. It's not necessarily let's make the most complicated, most complex, most theoretical music that we can, but let's push boundaries. Let's try something new. Let's take this to new musical horizons. Let's do something that nobody's ever done before. And so that whole ethos and philosophy still drives me as a musician to this day. And I think that's at the very center of what I do as a musician and even as a blues musician. So that's all of our questions. You guys asked so many great questions. Thank you for all of your questions. Thank you for connecting with me. I thought this was I thought this was great. I really enjoyed sharing with y'all and opening up with y'all. And hopefully you got to know me more a bit. And please, if you have more questions for me for another Q&A video, drop them in the comments section below if you want. And we'll do this again sometime soon. Maybe what I can do is, when we hit that 5K subscriber, 5K subs, maybe I can actually do an actual live stream and we can hang out live. And you can ask me your questions in real time online. That would be pretty cool. So, you know what to do, guys. Tell your friends about this channel. Tell them to subscribe. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below. And let's get to 5K subs and we'll do it. Thank you, everybody, for your amazing support for this channel. You guys are the reason why I do this. Y'all are the reason why I do this. I love doing this. So thank you again. And as always, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Ring the bell to get notified. Choo-choo, as I always say. Give the video a thumbs up, a like, and leave a comment. Ask me more questions. Let me know what you thought of this Q&A. Thoughts, feelings, opinions, whatever. Just say whatever. It all helps to drive the algorithm and bring more people to the channel and help this channel grow and build the community. And that's what it's all about, is the sharing and the love, right? And the music. Of course, the music. So, with all that said, I think that's it for today. So I'll see y'all guys on Monday for another Modern Monday. I'm getting to some Nightwish again from my Nightwish army. So I'll see you guys then. Take care. Stay safe. Be good to each other. Be kind. Love y'all. Bye.